Can I tell the truth if I was...
So welcome back from lunch. What's this one too? Oh, there we go. Did everybody, I don't know why you do that. I don't think that they do anything back there, but it just makes them feel better. Everybody ate the food. Did you eat to your full content? Yes? I'd say like a lethargic afternoon after pizza, fries, poutine, sandwiches. That's exactly what it is. You know what I hate at conferences? I hate when you're sitting comfortably and the guy on the stage or the girl on the stage says, "Why don't you get up and stretch?" Don't you hate that? Don't you hate that? So let's try it. I always wanted to be the guy up here that does this. So we just ate this grand meal and you're sitting there ready to fall asleep. So I want everybody to just stand up for a second because we got a great speaker in Cap coming up. And you have to have energy for this guy, okay? You have to have energy. So I think what everybody should be doing here is standing up. And then, I don't know what I'm doing here. You should attempt this once here. But I think you should raise your arms up. And as you do, big breath in. And then keep it there, keep it there. Hold your breath until somebody passes out. But when you let it go, you should let it go with a primordial scream to get it out. So 1, 2, 3. Ah! So stay standing up. That was lame. Stand up. That was lame. Do it till we do it right. You heard Lee on the stage here. He says, if you're not going to commit, don't be here. So I want to hear you scream. So I'm going to put the mic down so I don't mask it. Everybody breathe in. Hold it. You know what I'm talking about. Let it out. Breathe in. Thank you very much, guys, for your patience. Wow. For some of you, it's the first time you've actually inhaled and held it without any kind of high. Am I right? All right, so we've got a packed afternoon. I'm hopeful that you are replenished. You've got some energy in you. We've got Cap coming up in a second. But I just want to remind everybody that there are other things going on in this same building. I do not want to take you out of this session, but there are sessions. The Wolf Sisters are in a room upstairs. There's a breakout session. Invest Ottawa is doing a session. And I just want to remind you, and actually Sarah Siegel is also speaking in a session, but she's also on stage here as well later on in this afternoon. So if you miss her there, it's okay because you'll get her here. So there's a lot going on. I just want to remind you of that thing. But the key thing that you got to remember is that while you're sitting here, you might as well watch some amazing speakers for the rest of this afternoon. And we do follow through on that. And imagine starting as a creative writer. Does anybody write creatively here? Podcasts, even do blog posts. Can you imagine making a living doing that? Isn't that the greatest possible thing that you could do? Well, so this guy started as a creative writer, and what is he now? He's actually the VP of Design at BuzzFeed and also the VP of IT, which I think are contradictory titles, so you got to ask him about that. He's a blogger, he's a podcast guest, he's a speaker. It says here he's a lover of startups and technology. Is that a physical love of startups and technology? Have you had intimate relations with startups and technology? He's ignoring me too. He worked in a number of other companies, including Etsy, which you've heard of, and Formspring, which is something of my generation, and a company called Amazon. I want you to give the best after lunch welcome, Cap Watkins!
Did y'all boys not get the
Keep going!
I do not stay at the Intercontinental. And anything I got is not a rental. I own that motherfucker. Figure it out.
I did not choose that theme song. Hold on 1 second. All right, we're good. Props to the staff. I asked for this 5 minutes ago. I was like, holy shit, I need a beer for this. Thank you. And within like 30 seconds, it appeared like magic. So hi, I always start with this slide with every talk I give because I find it's a little inspirational. Like if that cat can ride bacon through space, we can do anything, right? Usually that's way funnier. Anyway, hi, I'm Cap. As you may have heard from your program or from that last guy who just said stuff, I work at BuzzFeed, and you've heard of it. Great. I won't explain it. If you don't know what it is, Google it. Where I am the VP of design currently, and what that means is, so we have a product design team, they work on the web and the apps, and a bunch of internal tools that we have at BuzzFeed, and so I manage that team. There's also, GIF is funny to me because there's no president of design. You've never, there's no such thing. So this is it. I made it. This is it. But I also do a lot of other stuff at BuzzFeed that a lot of people don't know about, so I like to go through that. So I'm actually the director of our IT team, and these are the folks that like make sure you have like a computer on your first day, like solve software problems for people. It makes no sense. I'll explain it later. I'm also, should I be pointing this way? There we go. I'm also the product manager for our A/B testing team. So like, I work with a bunch of engineers to help create tools so that our product teams can run experiments on our website and apps. They can like test different features and see how they do, and then we can roll them out, like depending on which ones do well. So I'm doing a lot of shit at BuzzFeed, it turns out. Sorry, I can't actually see what's behind me, so I can keep doing this, because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm doing a lot of stuff, and I'm actually doing a lot more than that. So when I was asked to give this talk, I was like, what the hell am I going to talk about? It's really confusing. Who here thinks that they want to be a designer? Oh, that's terrifying. Engineers, marketing, finance. I met some finance folks today. Right. It's really confusing. What am I going to say? And then I had what I would describe as a revelation, which was, so I've been doing a lot of jobs in my career in the last 10 years at a lot of different size companies. And when I think back over it, it turns out that I've been solving the same problems over and over and kind of bringing the same sort of principles to bear, kind of like unconsciously. And so I thought, screw it, instead of trying to focus the talk on design or on BuzzFeed, I'm just going to tell you all everything that I know. And then I realized I have 16 minutes left, and I decided not everything, maybe, but just maybe some of the important things. So we're going to go fast, because I don't think I'm going to make this. The first thing is that communication is basically everything, everywhere, in every role ever. The best people I've worked with are great communicators. The best teams, the companies communicate really well, are the ones that are most successful. And if you don't have good communication, you're totally screwed. And when I think about communication, I think about a few things: transparency, strategy, and empathy. And so transparency is something that like is easy to talk about, like it's easy to want, but it's hard to do. Transparency basically means like trying to like share what you're doing with other people and like have them share back to you all the stuff that they're doing. And this is at work, this is like in your job. And everybody wants it. Everyone wants people to share with them, but it's a lot harder to share outwardly. People think that the creative process is kind of a mystery. It's very mysterious. It's a solo act. Designers do this a lot where they'll like go off in a corner to work on a project for a few weeks, you know, and they'll work on it, they'll perfect it, make this perfect artifact, like this logo or like a website, and they'll get it right where they want it, take a couple weeks. And then they meet with their team to show them, to reveal this amazing thing that they've created. And that's about the time when everything goes to hell. He's fine. So it turns out like your team like didn't buy into this perfect, beautiful thing you made. They have a lot of questions, concerns, other ideas, and that can kind of piss people off, especially if you've like been in a corner this whole time. I've seen designers get really defensive about their work, and it's because they spent time on it and didn't share it that this has been really hard. So the way we deal with this, we're gonna watch it one more time. Yeah, it's just a good reminder, everybody. This is what happens. And so the way we deal with that at BuzzFeed, at least on the design team and the product team, is we use Basecamp, which is this really neat tool for project management. And so we use it to put every single project that we do into, so every project goes in here, and the designers add everybody in the org to their projects. And so like if you're an engineer, if you're a product person, if you're a marketing person, you can see what's going on, like what we're making. And everything's documented in here. There's conversations that are in here. Decisions get made in here. And so it's all very transparent. It's all accessible. It's easy to figure out like what the hell's going which has actually been really valuable to us. Strategy when you're communicating is like just as important as transparency. If you can get transparency right, that's great, but it's also really important to be thinking when you're talking to somebody or communicating your work, like how much should you communicate? When should you communicate it? Who should you communicate it to? Like a lot of people don't go through this exercise and they wind up like either under communicating and then surprising people, or over communicating and just like boring people to death. And so you have to have a plan. So an example of this is like when I was maybe a year ago at BuzzFeed, we decided to do a reorg. And a lot of you, who here has even heard the term reorg? Good. Hopefully none of you you'll all hear it at some point. A reorg is where the company priorities change, where like a strategy change happens. The CEO is like, we're going to pursue this new business, and the company needs to sometimes shift how we're organized in order to like make it happen, right? We might stop projects we're working on, and start new ones, and change what team people are on and stuff like that. It's very disruptive. It's a very stressful time for people when that happens. And when I started at BuzzFeed 2 years ago, we were only 100 people. So this kind of reorg stuff was super simple. We would just do it because you could just talk to people one-on-one really easily. Everybody's fit in a room together. So then a year later, we decided to do a reorg, and we had doubled the team. And the things that we used to do that worked didn't work anymore. But we didn't realize that, and so we started doing the thing we did before, which is just like stopping someone in the hallway and being like, hey, if we were going to reorg based on this strategy, what would you think about that? And, and with 200 people, the rumor mill is a very real thing, and all of a sudden we started to get these questions from people who we hadn't talked to that were like, hey, I heard we're reorging, what's happening? And what's happening to my team? Is my project getting canceled? And I would be like, I don't know, we haven't figured that out yet. I don't even know if we're reorging, we're just trying to figure out if we should. And it really, it just spread. Within the course of a day, all of a sudden people were panicking, they're really upset, they thought their stuff was getting canceled even if it wasn't, and so basically, everybody freaked out on the team. Everyone's losing their minds. And then the worst thing happened, which is that we freaked out. So the senior leadership on the team, me and a few other people, we were like, oh shit, everyone's panicking, what do we do? And so within about 2 days, we came up with this cockamamie scheme to reorg the company, our department really quickly, and we did it just so everybody would quit freaking out. And it was terrible, predictably. That solution was not a good solution. Everyone, to this day, still makes fun of that 3-month period where we were in that terrible organization that we did overnight. It's a running joke, which means it turned out well, but at the end. And so the strategy was really important. So after that 3-month period, what we wound up doing where everything was terrible, we wound up going to the leads of these teams going well, tell us the pain points. Tell us what you're dealing with. And in fact, those sound like real pain points. All you leads should go with your teams and come up with a better organization and come talk to us about it when you're ready. And we let them kind of control the conversation. Strategically, we really thought that it was important that was true, and we wound up with a much better org in the end that everybody was happy with and felt empowered by. So by not just doing the old thing, because the way we communicated in the past, it worked out better. Empathy is something you'll hear a lot from designers. If you ever meet one, that's all they'll fucking say to you.